Yes, yes, I leveled up! Let's celebrate! Whee! Oops. That was a bit spicy. Oh.
Inspiring, isn't it? What does it mean to level up for real? Well, if you watch this video all the way to the end, you might just gain enough experience points to feel it for yourself. So, first of all, what is leveling up exactly? Well, of course we're using gaming as the analogy, but are we referring to a class-based system or a skill-based system?
Oh, there you go, bringing class into it again.
That's what it's all about.
As you probably already know, class-based systems basically force characters to conform to very specific roles, with their own predetermined list of skills, talents, abilities, etc. Great examples of this are games like Dungeons & Dragons and World of Warcraft, and the many number of games that have effectively copied either of the two in their own legally unique way.
Well, maybe you're the one who's been riding a crazy train, but I've been the Prince of Darkness since 1979.
Anyway, characters in these systems generally level up after they've earned a sufficient number of experience points, usually by completing objectives or mostly killing stuff. Upon leveling up, the character's effectiveness usually improves somewhat, and they may get access to new abilities. Just like that. Like, all of a sudden. As if by magic. And since class-based systems are about as realistic as your character's backstory, we're going to put that old and outdated game mechanic aside and focus on something that you might actually be able to apply in the real world. You know, something of actual value. Now, onward and upward into a skill-based leveling system. In skill-based systems, characters can choose whichever skills they like to specialize in. Or in my case, you put special in quotes. Anyway, they can improve on them either through practical application or practice, or through the use of experience points or character points, which are generally earned by doing pretty much anything, really. Usually killing stuff. And since my kill count of innumerable insects and several small animals with my car hardly correlates with my skilled in many master of none character build, I think we can safely say that reality is best compared with a practical skill-based system. Example games like this might be GURPS, Ultima Online, the Elder Scrolls series. Hang on.
I'm this guy!
But if leveling up was really that simple, we could end the video right there. Because of course life is far more complicated than that. And I need more watch time, you know, for the YouTube algorithm.
Please like and subscribe for an old beggar.
So without further ado, let us look at identifying leveling up for real. Night mode, save me. Ah, that's better. Right, now I'm going to ramble a little bit, but I am going somewhere with this. Bear with me. This is as simple as it is complicated. If that helps at all. Anyway. So with any skill-based leveling system, we need to identify some core attributes with which to measure. In this case, here we have on my screen, physical attributes and cerebral. And of course, we need to expand on that. Now typically, physical attributes are divided into strength, endurance, and agility, but if you've seen my video on Dungeons & Dragons attributes for real, I've identified that strength and endurance are actually divided up into the different types of muscle fibers. So, in reality, we've got Type 2B muscle fibers, Type 2A, and Type 1. Now I go into very vivid detail regarding all these different muscle fibers and the energy systems they use in my stamina video. Go check that one out. Anyway, in a nutshell, our Type 2B muscle fibers are our measure of strength. How much someone can lift just once before they're exhausted. How fast they can sprint over a short distance, that kind of thing. Whereas our Type 2A muscle fibers are a measure of how many times they can repeat that lift, or how far they can run at almost maximal effort before they become exhausted. Then there's Type 1 muscle fibers, which is essentially a measure of endurance. It's a lower amount of effort over a very long time. such as long distance walking, jogging, riding, that kind of thing. So let's add a column to this. Insert column to the right. Thank you. So, measure. Under here, under our type TB, is amount of weight. Under type 2A, we have repetitions or duration. Moderate to just under maximal effort. And in type 1 muscle fibers, our measure for that is low effort, repetitions, or duration. Effectively your endurance athlete attribute. Now if we were to measure any of these over a period of time, or through a training program for example, let's say we measure someone's 1 rep maximum at 100 kilos, and we test them again later on and we find that they're able to do 110. Well, fantastic. You could say they've leveled up their strength attribute. Let's take another example. We look at type 2A muscle fibers. Let's say at the start of someone's training program, they were able to lift a certain weight, say 10 times. And by the time they reach the end of their training program, they're able to lift it 16 times. They have leveled up their type 2A muscle fiber attribute. Fantastic. Now the rest is pretty self-explanatory. I don't need to go into vivid detail about agility or the cerebral attributes. Those could really be covered in their own video, maybe in the future. The main point of this table was to identify some real-life attributes that we could measure over time, so that we can see some improvements, and thus see when we are leveling up. Notice how I'm not referring performance or leveling up to any kind of chart or range, like 0 to 100 or anything like that. Well, I've done that for 2 very important reasons. Firstly, it would be very easy to create some kind of tier list or chart, comparing the worst versus the best of human possibilities and expectations. But that helps absolutely no one. How would you feel comparing yourself with the strongest athletes in the world, if improving strength was one of your goals? What if you have limitations or challenges that they don't? For example, you've started your fitness journey much later in life, and you've missed out on the anabolic potential of your teens and 20s. What if you had a chronic injury or a disability of some kind? What if you realistically don't have the opportunity or the resources to dedicate your life to such a specific and specialized training regime? Especially if you have so many responsibilities as life likes to put on our shoulders. I'm sure you can imagine that the same applies to any skill or attribute that you can imagine, including those of an academic nature or those of a charismatic nature. And of course I have a solution to this. I wouldn't have a video going this long if I wasn't getting to a point. And it can be summed up into one very simple line. Your only competition is with who you were last week. And my second reason for discarding the min-max chart is there are no limits. There's where you were, where you're at now, and where you could go. Now you can certainly define yourself an end goal, a maximum, but you don't need to limit yourself like that. And you can certainly apply them to any number of handicaps or conditions that you have to contend with that others don't. You are your own category. You are the one in charge of your own leveling chart. So if you want some help designing your own leveling chart, here's my suggestion. Base it off of confidence and confirmation, and goals and achievements. If you feel confident about your level in a particular skill or attribute, you can level it up through confirmation. Confirmation through testing, competition, examination or certification. To prove to the world that you are capable of it, but more importantly, proving it to yourself. Make sure you're not just imagining it. Setting goals for yourself is one of the best ways to ensure continuous growth. The inspiration behind the drive to achieve. Sense of purpose behind all your intentions and all your efforts. And then as you achieve your goals, your achievements, you have a record, a track record of everything you have accomplished. And if you ever become stuck or are struggling with any of your goals, you can look back on your achievements to remind yourself where you've come from and where you're going to go.
better to come from Cotton Eye too.
Now that may not be enough for some people. So help me out. Put down in the comments things that you would use to identify when you feel you've leveled up in a skill or ability. What kind of indicators or triggers would you look out for? And what kind of goals would you set yourself? Be inventive, be creative, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.